Who would win in a fight between Transformers Age of Extinction's Lockdown and Transformers Rise of the Beast Scourge? I've seen people talking about this everywhere, all over YouTube. It seems like ever since we were introduced to Scourge and Transformers Rise of the Beasts, and people noticed the similarities between these two characters, people have been wondering which is the stronger of the two. If you ask me, it is a pretty good matchup. Both are intergalactic bounty hunters who serve ancient cosmic races or entities. Both serve as the main antagonist of their respective films, and so on and so forth. But in a theoretical fight to the death between these two characters, who actually would come out on top? Well, there is one very important difference between these two characters that no one seems to be talking about, and I think could make the difference in this fight. Scourge is highly prone to arrogance, and Lockdown is not. In several of his fights in Rise of the Beast, Scourge wasted valuable time toying with his opponents instead of easily killing them. Most notably during his first fight with Optimus, when Scourge literally has him disarmed and pinned down, and rather than going in for the kill, decides to gloat and lord it over Optimus, saying things like, "I love it when an inferior being meets a higher power," and "You call yourself a Prime? Primus would be ashamed." Even during his fight with Ape-Link, we saw a bit of how much he lacks a sense of urgency, preferring to stand and gloat over his latest kill instead of pursuing the Maximals that are about to escape with the Transwarp Key. And in both these cases, his arrogance is his downfall. The Maximals get away and Optimus survives and eventually goes on to defeat Scourge, killing him violently. Lockdown, on the other hand, is very cold and calculating. Rather than announcing himself boldly whenever he goes to fight an adversary, he quietly enters the battleground, takes up position, and uses his impressive arsenal of exotic weaponry to his advantage however he can depending on the situation that he's in. He also goes for the kill whenever he can, with the exception of Optimus, who he didn't kill because it was his mission to bring him back to the creators alive. He never hesitates to use lethal force against his opponents. He fatally wounds nearly every Autobot he squares off against. Even Optimus, who again he didn't want to actually kill, he still shot twice with his face cannon, and in the final fight literally stabbed him in the chest with a sword, and also nearly kills the human protagonist several times throughout Age of Extinction. Another important detail is that Lockdown is extremely resourceful, more so in my opinion than Scourge. Remember that Lockdown was able to fend off Bumblebee, a Cybertronian cannon-wielding Cade, and Shane and Tessa tripping him with a cable from a truck all by himself, and that during this confrontation he incapacitated Bumblebee and would have killed Cade if not for an awesome last-minute heroic intervention from Optimus, who again Lockdown beat in a one-on-one fight. Scourge struggled when he fought Optimus and Primal at the same time, his only major victory being his disabling of the Transwarp console, after which time he was killed rather quickly. The fact that Lockdown can hold his own against several opponents at once and Scourge cannot says something about the resourcefulness and overall skill of each character. Also, as a side note, I don't think that Scourge has all that much more combat experience than Lockdown. Despite Scourge being an ancient servant of Unicron, remember that Lockdown is also extremely ancient, as is made evident by his familiarity with the creators, the amount of galaxies he says he's traveled, and his history with Optimus and the rest of the Crusaders, that we learn Lockdown defeated and converted the Temenos into his own prison ship. All of this implies that Lockdown is himself very ancient and has gained experience in combat throughout the ages. Even Lockdown's vehicle mode is potentially superior to Scourge's. The former would definitely take the point for speed, as Lockdown is a Lamborghini whereas Scourge is a heavy truck. If nothing else, this would give Lockdown the edge in putting some distance between himself and Scourge, allowing him to use his face cannon, which we know is extremely effective over longer ranges. In short, I really can't see Scourge winning this fight given all the reasons I've listed. His arrogance alone I see as a massive weakness that Lockdown would absolutely take advantage of. The only caveat I have to all this is the quote-unquote invincibility that Airazor claims Scourge possesses, but as we saw in the film, he isn't invincible at all, and he is eventually killed even when Unicron is literally entering a portal to Earth, and if anything, Scourge's connection to Unicron should have been stronger, yet he still died. And Lockdown obviously has weaknesses as well, or else he wouldn't have died, but in my opinion, he is clearly the better fighter, and is overall more proficient in combat than Scourge is. And I haven't even really talked about the vast array of weapons that Lockdown has at his disposal. To me, the victor of this fight is pretty clear. The winner is Lockdown.